move on to, well, SSRIs. They're, well, we just had in Austin, a 24-year-old Brandon Daniel was on Xanax and tequila and went to Home Depot and then, or no, it was Walmart and killed a cop.
Yeah.
And this is one of the many things that happens with these people taking on these SSRIs. And, this is a very growing trend. We got the active duty troops on them. We had the guy who went on the Afghan murder spree. Now he was being put on one of the, was this an amnesic drug he was on?
Yeah, he was on a combination.
Okay.
They do painkillers, they do sleep drugs, they do the memory hold drugs that they put soldiers on so they don't remember the trauma that they went through. Instead of treating it, just cover it up.
Right.
Even, you remember comedian Phil Hartman? He used to be on Saturday Night Live.
Yeah.
He was a victim of a murder-suicide.
On this?
She was on the antidepressant drugs, yeah.
Wow.
You go back to Columbine High School shootings. Obviously, the antidepressants, the SSRIs in that case. You got to look.
90% of the shooters, I think.
Oh, yeah, it's a huge number. And we have an epidemic of the psychiatric drugging of U.S. soldiers, as this graphic is showing. This is one that we put together. And
yeah, these are really good. I like these graphics.
Thanks, man. We're just trying to keep up with InfoWars. There we go. Look at what it causes: suicides, accidents, violence, and drug addiction. The soldiers are given a 180-day supply of all these psychotropic drugs and then sent out into the field with all these drugs in their hands. And they barter them, they trade them, they take too much, they lose them, they have withdrawals. The most dangerous thing that you can do with these drugs is quit them cold turkey.
Right.
That's what causes a violent outbreak episode. So for anyone watching who wants to get off of these drugs, make sure you work with your physician or naturopath. Do it slowly, gradually over time. Don't quit cold turkey or you may just snap and end up shooting somebody or shooting your own family member, because these drugs cause you to dissociate from reality. So that young man who shot a police officer in Austin, he may not have even known what he was doing. He may have thought in his mind that he was playing a video game, an Xbox game, that involved a Walmart and some bad guys with guns, and he just thought he was playing a game. And later, he might have realized what actually happened, but at that moment in his mind, he may not at all have been guilty of pulling that trigger and committing that crime.
God, I mean, it's just, and this is all these are examples of the system and the lordships above us trying to come out with these panaceas. It's like, oh, here, just take this, just do this. We're going to help you. All this is here to help you. And it's not. It's always these so-called good intentions, which are usually motivated by profits and stealing from people.
This is clearly motivated by profit, the psych drugging of soldiers and children and adults in America.
Yeah.
And the real sad part about it, Rob, is that the scientific studies show that these antidepressants work no better than placebo. So there's absolutely no benefit to them compared to just taking a sugar pill, let's say, or an olive oil pill. So the scientific fraud that pushes the pills, and then there's profit fraud that takes place, and then the damage that the pills cause, such as the shooting of this police officer in Austin, who pays for that? Does the drug company pay for that? No. Of course not.
They're never at fault at all for creating this stuff. Just like the vaccines, they can't be at fault for giving kids autism. I was looking, actually had my mom send me these pictures, and I didn't bring in my phone with me, but from this edition of National Geographic, they had a study with twins. And there's a graph for identical and fraternal twins, and identical twins are more susceptible. If one gets autism, the other one is more likely to get it too. And my wife brought this up because we're always having the vaccine debate at my house.
Oh, really?
Let me tell you.
That must be fun.
And I fight it. I fight it very hardcore. And she came up and showed me this. She goes, well, what does this mean? How come the fraternal twins don't get it? And I said, well, identical twins come from the same genetic makeup, the same egg. And whereas you got fraternal twins, it's two different eggs. So you have two different genetic makeups. So they're not as susceptible. Whereas, if you look across the board, the identical twins are more susceptible to alcoholism if one has the other get it, learning disabilities, autism. And that's just because they come from the same genetic makeup. So they're probably getting the same other environmental factors that would trigger that.
Yeah, absolutely. That's true. There is some genetic susceptibility to the causes of autism, which most undoubtedly include vaccine adjuvants, the chemicals. But Alex actually hit on something huge the other day that I don't think has even been highlighted enough, which is that there's a whole new wave of vaccines that aren't even vaccines. They're not working on the antibody theory of immune response. They are, in fact, nanotechnology brain-eating injections. They're chemical lobotomies, but they call them vaccines.
Right.
So autism may be just the earliest example in our society of an injection with a chemical that eats part of your brain or disables part of your neurology.
Sure.
And in the future, they're going to target adults like you and me.
Sure.
People who speak out, oh, you have a disorder.
People who think about conspiracies, hey, you probably have a disorder.
Clearly. Well, they have it named. It's obedience defiance disorder, ODD. That's already in the DSM of the psychiatric manual.
Oh yeah, restless leg syndrome.
Right.
Need a vaccine. You know, there's always going to be something to treat people. Mike, it's always a pleasure to have you in here. Thanks a lot for coming, and I'm sure you'll be back many more times. And it's great having you here in Texas and fighting the fight with us and milking your Nigerian goats.
Yeah, happy to be here. Thanks for having me on, Rob.
All right.